There's a game called Warhammer 40k, and within that universe you have an alien species called the orcs. And they believe that red goes faster. And it does go faster, because the orcs have this bizarre ability where if all of them believe something, it becomes true. So if they believe that if they paint a bomb yellow and it explodes harder, then painting it yellow actually makes it explode harder. And I'm curious if this is what the fire brigade also thought. It's like, if we paint it rainbow, it goes faster. We can arrive in time in order to save people. Obviously, it's a conversation that I'm really glad it finally happened. This is why a lot of progressive nonsense doesn't happen in Eastern Europe. Because the question here is, how much does it cost? And I remember a couple of years ago, there was some push of promoting some gender ideology books into schools. And most of the parents didn't even ask what that is. They probably don't even know what gender ideology is. They asked, how much would it cost? And when they found out that it would be a couple of millions, they went like, no. Kind of hard to call people bigots when they're concerned about where their money is going, you know? So this is finally being addressed in the United Kingdom. I mean, they already had this thing where police officers painted their cars in rainbow colors. Now I guess is the fire department, which spent $17,000 on decorating the engines in rainbow color. And I assume it's also due to the fact that the standard of living is going down a little bit. People have to pay a lot more for their energy bill. People notice that the inflation is a thing. And because of that, people do start wondering, like, how is the government spending our money? Because this is one interesting aspect. Left-leaning politicians always say, oh, we need more social programs, so we need more taxes, more taxes. But they never ask, it's like, okay, but from the taxes which we already take, how much money are we not wasting on frivolous projects? And while this is happening in Britain, and it's ridiculous, but it's obvious to the public, in the United States, you have a lot of people crying about student debt, and they're complaining about university being expensive, but they don't talk about the army of diversity officers, which I wouldn't be surprised if in total make $1 billion industry exist. Isn't that wasted money? Isn't that something that the university should be responsible for when people complain about student debt and not being able to find a job? I wonder if the diversity officer even have their job assessed to see whether it's good or not. Like, did you actually increase the diversity at the university since you got the job? But that's just one example. That one is a little bit more difficult to notice, but this one is in plain view. So, fire brigades across the country have faced a backlash from Brits after it was revealed that £17,000 of taxpayer money has been spent on decorating engines in LGBT rainbow colors. I really hate the way the article is written. Like, what do you mean LGBT? Do you think this is 2016? It's LGBTQ plus ultra, you bigot. Also, £17,000, while it's a lot for me and you, it's probably not that much for the budget of the fire department. But hey, don't let any good crisis go to waste, okay? Like, if the propaganda is pushing in that direction, don't let me stop them. In Suffolk, 2,284 was spent on a design incorporating a rainbow. Meanwhile, another 35,000 was spread across the country on rainbow merchandise such as flags. This actually reminds me of the time where the United States was hyper-patriotic, especially during the Bush era. You had all of this merchandise that had an American flag on it or a hawk, and it would sell just because of that. Like, you would have a mug with a hawk on and people would buy it. You'd have a pair of underwear with the American flag and people would buy it. It's almost like it's the same stuff, isn't it? The move was made a part of an inclusivity and recruitment drive. Yeah, I mean, again, look, they say that this is making inclusivity and recruitment, but how the fuck do you assess that? How do you assess if someone is good at the job of inclusivity and recruitment? So they're willing to spend $35,000 or pounds on trivial shit like this. How do you see if this actually creates more inclusivity and more, recruitment, right? Like, is this going to drive the recruitment number up? And if it doesn't, why can't the person who proposed this deal have to pay from their pocket? I guarantee to you, if people had to pay from their pocket every single time a government proposal ends up not working, people would be a lot more conservative when it comes to government proposals. Tom Ryan from the Taxpayers Alliance told the paper, taxpayers are being ripped off in the rush to be right on. Fire chiefs must realize that the expensive rainbow wrappings do nothing to deliver the heroic life services that everyone relies on. One person tweeted, what's the world coming to when we have woke firemen? It's not even like they're woke firemen, because like the problem isn't what they're thinking when they get home and they twat on Twitter or they go on Reddit. That's not the issue. The issue is like, why do you have to make the kindergarten school fire bus? Like, this looks something that I would expect to be parked at McDonald's so that children who celebrate their birthdays go into the bus to play around. It's infantilizing. It's absolutely abhorrent. And the thing is, how is it inclusive though? Like, what if someone is not woke? What if someone is a hardcore Muslim? Like, do they feel included in this? I generally don't know. And I never had the idea that the firefighters weren't inclusive. Like, when there's a burning building, I don't think they ask, okay, well, in which area is it? What type of people live there? What is their sexuality? All right, and after that, they make an assessment of whether to respond or not. Like, this doesn't happen in the real world. I'm pretty sure there might be some academic that comes on and says, oh, well, looking at the fires, the firefighters didn't reach this neighborhood, and this neighborhood has this minority, so clearly they must be racist. Systemic! Oh! I'm pretty sure there are those people, but in the real world, having known firefighters and having spoke with them, they don't assess the problem this particular way. So there's no reason for them to virtue signal like this. It's interesting, like even the Christians, right? Like the Christians also wanted to virtue signal. Like, they would wear crosses, they would display their piety, right? But, like, even the Christians didn't have, like, the firefighter with like, a big Jesus cross on it, and Jesus will save and shit like that. I mean, it would be cringe. That's the problem. Even if I was a Christian, if I were to see a firefighter with, like, a big picture of Jesus on it, and Jesus goes like this, and it's like, Jesus saves, I would think, like, it's so fucking cringe. Like, please dial down the cringiness a little bit. And stop spending taxpayer money on doing that. Another Twitter user said, always underfunded too. Shocking waste of money. Much in the same way the police just chunk money away too. Those who make these decisions should pay for them by losing their jobs. No, I don't think they should lose their jobs. I think they should keep their jobs, and a percentage of their salary should go to fund this stuff. I mean, look, that's the problem, right? Like, when you have the public sector, it's not your money, it's the taxpayer money. So what ends up happening is you have these people which go like, okay, well, let's allocate this amount of funds to paint this. They're not losing any money off of their pockets. That's the problem. They should be forced, when they make a decision like this, to have to pay for it themselves. People call this a joke. Oxfordshire County Council told that the paper redecorating one of its vehicles helped the service towards its equity, diversity, and inclusion. Well, you know, I'll say this. Maybe, just maybe, with the current living standards, we can't afford equity, diversity, and inclusion. You know, like, the same way we can't afford heat during the winter, maybe we can afford a little less equity, diversity, and inclusion. I mean, I'm not saying we should shut it down, heaven forbid. Okay, I mean, the holy equity, diversity, and inclusion. I'm not saying you should shut it down, but maybe a little bit less. Maybe just a little bit less of it, huh? How about that? Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.